So I've had a few questions on what I should use for the bolts on the rotor, and I had come up with the idea of using the hex cap bolts, and I thought it would be an improvement over the button caps, because on the button caps, the hex part of it was actually getting stripped out. That one's not so bad, but it was getting stripped out. So the difference between the hex and the button cap that people were talking about is that shoulder that you see on the button cap. That hex cap doesn't have it. So what I had planned on doing is using them because it's a hardened steel. It's not supposed to, or it's not going to have as many problems with fusing to the cast aluminum wheels, and that it wouldn't have any problems with being soft enough to want to mushroom or deform whenever you unbolt them. So what I had come up with is there's another one that I found that had a shoulder. This one is actually an M8 by 1.25 for the thread pitch, and then it's a 30 millimeter length bolt. So instead of this 25, I only found it in 30. So the difference being only 5 millimeters, but that does make a difference. As you can see, the one with the shoulder is actually longer by 5 millimeters. So that doesn't matter so much in the wheel, as long as you pick the right threads. So any of the ones that have the spokes right there will actually be able to fit the 30 millimeter length bolt with the shoulder on it. So, and that's because whenever you take off the rotor, you can see that the one that has no spoke versus the one that has spoke is shallower. So this one with the spoke actually sits down there deeper and has a larger recess to fit that bolt down in there. So I can use the 30 millimeter length bolt with the shoulder. Since my Ace hardware didn't have as many bolts as I wanted to get, I have 5 of these with the shoulder, 30 millimeter length ones. And what I'm going to do is use 3 of them for the rear, because I have 3 spokes that it'll work with. And then over here on my front, I have this guy, and these ones are actually long enough. They actually extend down inside, and you could put like probably, I don't know, you could probably put like a 70 millimeter length bolt if you really wanted to. It's ridiculous to do that, but you could if you wanted to. So these ones I can use as many as I want. But since it's the rear and I only have 5 of the ones with shoulders, I'm going to put 2 in there. I'll just put them right across from each other, so that way the length won't cause any weird imbalance problems when I have the tires mounted on the wheels. And then the front one I'll use 3, one for each one of the spokes, and then they're also spaced evenly, so that way the 5 millimeters of difference doesn't cause a weird imbalance in the weight. So, but I thought that having these shoulders on here would be a good idea, just so that way I don't have any problems with my rotor moving. It's not really going to move since it has these little tabs on each one of the mounts for the rotor. So it's not going to be able to shift up and down, left to right, or anything like that, or make any sort of weird wobbling. The only thing it can do is twist like this. And that's not going to cause you to have any weird brake problems whenever you hit the brakes. It's not going to cause any sort of weird wobble. At very most, it would slide one direction and then stop there because the threads of the regular bolt would stop it. But even if that were the case, after I tightened everything down, it wouldn't cause any problems with the brakes. So, in order to kind of be more foolproof and have better accessibility, I'm going to use some of these with the shoulder to help align the brake rotor, as well as have the ease of use with the hex heads versus the buttons with the Allen wrench hex heads. I don't know why that's not letting me focus. There we go. So, because I don't like stripping these out and it's a softer metal, I'm doing the hardened bolts. I got them at my local Ace Hardware. Pretty easy to find. I'll test these out in a parking lot before I actually go out on the road, just to make sure I don't have any strange problems with the rotor shifting, but I doubt that I will. I don't foresee any problems there. But tell me what you think.